Hey guys, it's Charlene. Today I have the lovely Layers Cupcakes and More, which is really fun. You have ice cream cones, you have a shake, you have a cupcake you can make, and then I also have here the bold backgrounds, Vines of Love. So I'm going to create kind of a romantic Jane Austen-esque birthday card with a cupcake and the Vines of Love. You'll have to let me know in the comments if you think I was successful. I'll start working on the cupcake. There's a couple of different layers here that make up the cupcake. Here's the layering guide that's available on Honeybee's website. I'm going to cut out these different layers from a couple of different colors of cardstock. I'll start here by cutting the frosting layers as well as the top cupcake layer, and I decided to use white cardstock for these. Then I'll cut out the cupcake wrapper layers from some light pink cardstock. For the shading on the cupcake wrapper, I'm bringing in the same color of ink as the cardstock. This is a great way to create a tone-on-tone shaded look. I'm starting from the bottom, bringing it all the way up to the top and fading out as I go. This is very, very subtle, especially once it dries, but it's going to create this lovely shading for our cupcake. For the cake portion of the cupcake, I'm bringing in some light brown and I'm using a very, very tiny amount of ink. Remember, you can always add ink and you can't take it away. So I'm going all over the white cardstock to give it an even layer of color, and I'm coming in from each side, so all the way around the different edges. I'm pulling my brush in. This is going to help make it so that all the edges are slightly darker than the center of the piece, which will make it look more realistic. Here's our finished lovely cake layer. For the bottom frosting layer, I'm going to use that same light brown. I am using the softest hand with my ink blending brush here though, because I just want to give it a slightly different shade from the front frosting to give it that authentic look, I feel like, of buttercream, where it's kind of got a little bit of a yellowy brown to it. So you can see it's super subtle, but there is a slightly different shade of white going on here now. So I'll add some glue to the back of the top frosting piece and layer it directly over the top of the blended base piece. This would also look really nice with some glitter cardstock. So now I'll add our cake piece, add some glue to the back of that, and this will layer right along the top of the portion of our pink wrapper that we created. This piece here is the accent. It's the detail portion of the wrapper. I am tapping it off on a tissue here, so that way I avoid getting excess glue kind of smooshing out around the edges. And this layers right underneath the cake piece. It tucks right under there and fits into those little spots. And then I just run the bottom portion down with my fingers. So it really makes the wrapper look 3D. I love how Honeybee does this. Next, I will add some glue here to the top of the cake, but I'm not going down too far because I don't want it to smush out from underneath the frosting. And then the frosting just layers right over the top of the cake. Super cute and easy layered cupcake. Love it. I'll set that aside for now, and I'm going to cut out the bold background Vines of Love from some different colors of cardstock. I'm going to use this kind of tealy color and then a couple of different pinks here. This is where I feel like it gets a little Jane Austen-esque. I'm bringing in those romantic colors. I have the layering guide here. I'm going to start by adding the largest hearts, but I'm going to do something similar to what we did with Cupcake. I'm going to bring in the coordinating ink color and I'm going to add some shading. So for the hearts, that means I'm just bringing up a little bit of the ink onto the heart from the base of the heart. Once I'm done with my ink blending on all of those, I'll add a tiny bit of glue down there to the base, and then these tuck back behind in the different areas. So it looks like these are heart flowers essentially that are growing out of these bases that are in the different parts of the background. I did decide to recut those pieces that were white out of a slightly darker shade of greenish teal cardstock, because I wanted the bases of the heart flowers to not stand out quite so much with the white. So all you need to do for this step is to add a little bit of glue over the top of the coordinating piece. They're the same size, so it's easy to figure out which one goes where, and then just lay it right over the top. These smaller hearts go at the end of a few of the different vine pieces. So I'm going to lift my piece up and just very carefully add a touch of glue at the end of the vine. You don't need very much. These are small hearts. You don't need much glue to get them to stick on there. And then I'll bring in the heart and just layer right over the top. Next, I can add glue to the back of the entire background piece. You do want to use a pretty viscous glue for this, so that way it doesn't dry on you before you get a chance to put it over your cardstock panel. You can see I've chosen a nice light blue, and that's not normally a color I would pick, but with the blue and the teal and the pink, I felt like this looked really romantic. I'm just using my tweezers there to remove any excess little glue that might have popped out. Now I can come in and create my sentiment. This is the Blessings of Spring stamps and dies. I've chosen this very sweet sentiment here. It's your time to bloom. And I'll stamp this out in a blue that coordinates with our blue background. I normally stamp everything in black, but I felt like it was really important to stamp in blue for this card to keep it all cohesive and keep that soft romantic feeling to the card. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my ink here and stamp this a second time. It looks really nice. I'll cut it out with the coordinating die. I also decided I wanted to add a candle to the cupcake, so this is really easy to layer up. I'll go ahead and do that off camera. I'm going to trim about 1/4 of an inch off the bottom of my candle, and I'm going to tuck this in underneath that top layer of frosting. So I'm going to bring in a little pokey tool here and kind of pull that piece back up a little bit, add some glue to the back of my candle, and then carefully tuck it underneath that piece right at the base so it hides the bottom of the candle. Once I'm done, I can bring in a little bit more glue and add it back to that piece that I pulled up. But I want the candle to sort of naturally go off and to the left. It did mean I needed to sort of turn my flame a little bit just with my fingers to kind of help it look like the fire is actually going up in the air as opposed to too far off to the side. But here's where I add that little bit of glue just back to the piece, and then I'm just gonna take my tweezers to help hold it in place while that glue dries. Reverse tweezers are just so handy. I love them. Now for the background piece, I'm going to trim about 1/8 of an inch off on each side. I love having a thin white border going around my cards. I think it just looks really classy. I'll add some glue here and center my piece onto an A2 size piece of white cardstock. I've added some double-sided adhesive foam to the back of the cupcake, and I'll center it here on the card panel. I've also added some foam tape to the back of the sentiment and a little bit of a shim so that way it has some support on the right hand side. To give us that kind of ethereal bling, I've added in some opal confetti mix, and now I can adhere the whole thing down to my card base. I did decide that I wanted to bring in one more pink heart here for the left hand side, so I cut that out because I felt like a little bit of pink was missing from there. It just wasn't quite balanced. So here's our finished birthday card, romantic Jane Austen style birthday card, very elegant. I hope you guys picked up some tips and tricks today. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so that you'll know about future videos here on the Honeybee Stamps YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.